Hey everyone, and welcome. Today, we're going to dive into some of the most common health myths floating around out there. We're going to separate fact from fiction and arm you with the real info you need to take charge of your own health. So, first up, a question millions of people wonder about every single month. Is this kind of pain just a fact of life you have to grit your teeth and get through? And then what about this one? This common stereotype about getting older. Is there some magic age where interest and, enjoyment just fizzle out? And maybe one of the most dangerous assumptions of all, can you really trust your body to send you a clear signal, a big flashing sign, if something's wrong? Well, the answer to all of those questions is a big, resounding no. So today we're cutting through all that noise. We're going to give you the clear, evidence-based facts on everything from your monthly cycle to how we actually age. All right, let's kick things off with menstrual health. This is a topic just surrounded by generations, and I mean generations of misinformation. I mean, we've all heard this, right? It's practically treated as common knowledge. But here's the thing. Just because something is really common, that doesn't actually mean it's normal. And it definitely doesn't mean it's something you just have to suffer through. Okay, so this is the really important part to understand. While, yeah, mild cramps are super common, severe pain, the kind of pain that makes you miss out on your life, like school or work, is not normal. It's your body telling you something's up, and it's a sign you should probably check in with a doctor. Now, what's really interesting about this myth is how it gets twisted into some kind of badge of honor, like it's a sign of peak fitness. The idea that if you train hard enough, your period will just disappear. This is just flat out false. Losing your period can actually be a sign of something called relative energy deficiency in sport, or REDS-S for short. It basically means your body isn't getting enough fuel for the insane amount of energy you're putting out, and that is a serious health issue that really needs to be addressed. Okay, moving on. Let's get into some of the biggest fears and falsehoods when it comes to contraception and fertility. This is a huge deal for so many people who are trying to figure out their birth control options. There's this massive fear that if you choose to prevent a pregnancy now, it could mess with your ability to have kids down the road. But here's the reality, and the science backs this up. Study after study has shown no increased risk of infertility after using IUDs. In fact, with most types of birth control, your ability to get pregnant bounces right back, almost as soon as you stop using them. And just look at the options. You've got hormonal ones like Mirena and Kyleena. You've got the copper-based Paragard. There's a whole range. They can last anywhere from 3 to 10 years, and they are over 99% effective. That makes them one of the most reliable forms of reversible birth control out there. Okay, this next section is super, super important. We really need to talk openly about sexual health to get past the stigma and bust some of the most dangerous myths that actually put people at risk. So many people really truly believe this. They assume that if they had an infection, they know. They'd have obvious, unmissable symptoms. But the reality? It's really different. And honestly, it's pretty alarming. Just look at this number, 70%. That is how many women with chlamydia, which is one of the most common STIs, show absolutely no symptoms at all, 0. And the same thing is true for a lot of other infections, like gonorrhea. This is exactly why regular testing is so important if you're sexually active. You just can't wait for symptoms to show up. And that's why you have to be proactive about this stuff. Condoms are great for reducing risk, but they don't completely eliminate it. And it is so crucial to remember that things like the pill or IUDs, while they're amazing at preventing pregnancy, offer absolutely zero protection against STIs. All right, for our final topic today, let's challenge some of those tired, old stereotypes about getting older. What does the science actually have to say about our later years? You know this one, right? The idea that our future is basically set in stone, that it's all in our genes and we're just playing out a script we can't change. It's a pretty fatalistic view. But get this, a huge, landmark study of over 13,000 twins found something absolutely incredible. Our genes, they only account for about 30% of how we age. A full 70% is all about our lifestyle, our choices. That's not fate, my friends. That is power. The control is mostly in your hands. And here's another myth that just gets it completely backward. The idea that desire and satisfaction just sort of wither away after a certain age. So what does the actual data say? Nearly half of people over 65 report being very happy with their sex life. And get this, 3/4 of sexually active men and 70% of sexually active women in that age group say they are just as satisfied or even more satisfied than they were back in their 40s. How about that?
So, whether we're talking about painful periods or aging with vitality, the theme here is pretty clear, right? When you swap out the myths for the actual facts, you gain control. You're not just a passenger anymore. You're the one in the driver's seat.
Look, this knowledge isn't something to just keep to yourself. It's meant to be shared. It's meant to spark conversations with your doctor, with your partner, with your friends, your family. So the only real question left is, now that you've got the facts, what conversation are you going to start?